it's Sam from Sugar Spun Run, and today we'll be making sourdough discard scones. Before you begin making this recipe, you are going to want to get your oven preheating to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. You want it nice and hot before you put the scones in there, so don't waste any time, get that preheating. Now, for today's recipe, we're going to be using a food processor. I will include written notes if you don't have a food processor, but this is by far the best and easiest way to get buttery, consistent, tender scones. So I really recommend using one. In fact, I've recently started using the food processor even to make my sourdough biscuits, and it just makes everything so much easier. So in the basin of a food processor, we are going to combine 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Try to do this without spilling it. There we go. With a 1/3 cup of granulated sugar. I like my scones a little bit on the sweeter side. I feel like scones should be sweeter, otherwise just eat a biscuit, really. Also add 2 teaspoons of baking powder and a 3/4 teaspoon of table salt. All right, we're gonna pop the lid on this. We're just going to pulse a couple times just to get everything distributed. You really wanna make sure the baking powder is distributed through there nicely. Just a couple pulses will do it. All right, next thing you're going to need is a 1/2 cup of unsalted butter, and you want this to be really cold. What I'll actually do is I'll pop this in the freezer for at least 15 minutes before I even start making my scones. That way it's really nice and chilly. So cold butter is important because you want to create sort of flaky layers in your scones, and you don't want them to spread so much, and using a very cold butter is key for that. One downside is the wrapper, if not done properly, will freeze inside the butter and be a pain in the neck, which is what I'm dealing with right now. But we'll persevere. While we're on the subject of butter, if you happen to have European style butter, one with 82% or higher milk fat, that works really well with these scones as well. A lot of times I'll splurge for the fancy butter with this recipe. Just gotta make sure I'm not feeding anyone paper. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this into 8 pieces, maybe a little bit more. More like 12 pieces. And I'm just going to scatter them over the top of my dry ingredients here. And we are going to pulse everything together again until the butter is nicely distributed. So I'll show you what it should look like, but we're going to have like a crumbly mixture where you'll still see discernible pieces of butter that shouldn't be any larger than, say, like a chocolate chip in size. And this just takes a couple of pulses, but you do want to make sure you're pulsing and not just blending with your food processor. Let's take a look. You still have some butter remaining, like I don't know if you can tell on camera, but there's some pieces right there. That's what I like to see. I don't want to go any further than this. All right, slide this out of the way a little bit. And the next thing you're going to need is a 1/2 cup of sourdough discard. So this is sourdough starter that's no longer active. It's deflated and fallen on itself. We need a little bit more liquid, so we're going to add 1/4 cup of heavy cream. And again, you want this to be nice and cold. And I'm also going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract here as well. We'll whisk this in just to try to sort of combine everything. Doesn't have to be perfect, but combining it helps. A little baby whisk. Now I'm going to go ahead and pour this over my dry mixture. Grab a spatula. And once again, we are going to pulse until the mixture starts to cling together. So, sorry, I'm doing this backwards, it's a little awkward for me. Again, we're pulsing, not blending, so like 1 second max for each pulse. So let's take a look after, this was like 21 second pulses for me. So you can see this is starting to cling together. There are no dry ingredients remaining. If I take this mixture and I press it between my fingers and my thumb, it's clinging together, no problem. So we're done with the food processor. Let's remove that blade. Don't want to cut ourselves. And I'm going to transfer this to a clean, lightly floured surface. And we're going to use our hands to form the dough into a disc, or something resembling a disc. This is good enough. Now, if you want to add any add-ins, you'll do this during this next step. I like sweet things and chocolate, so I'm going to be adding some chocolate chips. About 3 ounces of chopped chocolate would also work nicely here. And I'm adding this during the lamination process. So laminating, all that means is we are going to be folding the dough over itself. So I'm going to do 1 fold, and then I'm going to press the layers together. Then if you're adding add-ins, sprinkle a few more here. Turn the dough 90 degrees, fold it over itself again. And I repeat this like 4 or 5 times. Number 3. So this process of folding the dough over itself is just going to help give us those nice, delicate layers. They're not super discernible layers, but when you bite into a scone that's well made and has that butter well distributed throughout it, it just makes such a difference. So this extra step is so worth it. And it's something that I also use when I'm making my biscuits. And I think that's just one of the things that has made those like the most popular biscuit recipe on the internet. And that might sound like an exaggeration, but like look up biscuits and that one's right there at the top because it's so good. Okay, now one thing to note is you do not want to overhandle your dough. You don't want to make it too warm or you're going to lose that tenderness from the butter that I had talked about. So I'm trying to work quickly and not overhandle the dough. And once I've folded it enough times, I'm going to flatten this into a disc that's about 1 inch thick, about 6 inches wide, 6 inches round. We'll add a couple more chocolate chips in here. Neaten up the edges a little bit. And I'm going to cut this into wedges. So when you're cutting your scones, make sure you cut straight down. Now I'm cutting into 8 wedges, and each cut will be a straight down cut. If you saw into the biscuit dough or the scone dough, it's a lot more likely to bake up wonky and lopsided. So just straight down. Get a big knife, straight down, and then straight back up. And we're getting 8 scones out of this. And then we're going to place these on a parchment paper lined baking sheet, spacing them at least 2 inches apart. Now, if you fear that you have made your scone dough a little bit too warm, which you guys can't see all the lights I have on in here, but I feel like my dough is getting a little bit warm from them. You can pop the scones in your freezer for like 10 minutes before you bake them, which you might do. Now, again, grab my heavy cream real quickly. I like my scones to be a little bit sweeter. So the final touch that I'll do is I'm going to brush the tops with a little bit of heavy cream because I want to add a little dusting of sugar on top, and the cream is going to help that sugar to adhere. And just a little bit of granulated sugar or turbinado sugar adds a nice touch. All right, if you need to chill your scones a little bit longer, pop them in the freezer, but when they're ready to bake, you are going to want to bake them in the center rack of your 400-degree Fahrenheit preheated oven, and that means fully preheated. It needs to have been warming up and the internal temperature needs to actually be 400 degrees. And they're going to bake for about 15 to 16 minutes. When they're finished baking, you'll notice the edges are beginning to turn a nice light golden brown. Now, of course, you want to let the scones cool until, I don't want to say cool completely because I like them warm, but just make sure you're not going to burn yourself before you dig in. And that is how to make these sourdough scones. I hope you enjoy them. If you try them, let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Oh man, these are so good. That is excellent, if I do say so myself. My sisters are mad I ate the scone wrong.
But usually you bite a scone.
No, break it up.
What?
I'm
all. They're like tea party food. Yeah, you bite it.
It's excellent either way. Is biting it better at a tea party? Wouldn't I use a fork?
They make, you know?
I'm feeling very judged.